guys, welcome to my first video of this kind. I'm going to be taking you through a full day of eating with me on 75 Hard. But first things first, I wanted to clear up how I came to the meal plan that I came to and what I'm doing differently this time around with 75 Hard. And back then I was a vegan. So first things first, what's very different between the first time I did 75 Hard and the second time is that I'm no longer a vegan. And that being said, when I did it the first time, I wasn't really prioritizing protein in my meal plan. So here's the thing, maintaining lean muscle mass is one of your body's more expensive processes. And so we have to feed the muscles protein because that's the currency that they would prefer. So doing 75 Hard as a vegan, not prioritizing protein, was one of the first areas that I went wrong. The second area that I went wrong was that my meal plan was kind of vague. Like I gave myself a lot of gray area, and I've learned a lot in the past 2 years. My caloric intake goal was 12 to 1400 calories a day, which at the time I was getting personal training coaching from somebody who wanted me to be doing 1200 calories a day. If anybody ever recommends to you that 1200 calories a day is a good calorie goal, you need to just run the other direction. 1200 calories might be enough for like a toddler, not enough for an adult, certainly not enough for an adult who's going to be working out twice a day. My goal was 1200 to 1400. I was like, oh, I'll give myself 1400 calories if I'm feeling super hungry, which obviously I was going to feel super freaking hungry. I was a vegan eating mostly vegetables and like potatoes and rice, and my calorie cap goal was as low as 1200. Like, of course I was gonna be freaking hungry. So I wasn't getting enough protein, I wasn't eating enough calories, and I really don't even know where I was with my fats because I wasn't tracking it as diligently. So that was like a lot of gray area that I thought was like a healthy meal plan. Definitely not. What I'm doing this time around is all of my meals are heavily centered around protein, and my snacks are as well. Really, I'm using 75 Hard to shed as much body fat as I can. I want to use this as an opportunity to lean out a little bit and maintain my muscle mass. I've never been as lean as I am right now, and I'd like to see how far I can push that. I'm doing all of this to be a better skier, so if my skiing performance starts to suffer, I have a few kind of like alternative plans I'm gonna go to, if you will. You know, number one, I could always add in a little bit more calories to my meal plan because I am eating in a pretty severe caloric, not severe, I'm eating in a pretty intense caloric deficit right now. I could always add in a little bit more calories if I feel like I'm skiing bad because of low energy. If we start skiing poorly because like we're just too fatigued from training all the time, twice a day, without any type of rest, then we kind of have to put the kibosh on it and figure out what we want to do. But it's a really fun test to see how far we can go. I think we can make it. I'm not gonna kill myself just to say I did 75 Hard twice and then not enjoy my skiing. Meal plan as of right now, 1,612 calories a day, 152 grams of protein, 134 grams of carbs, and 53 grams of fat. So like I said, that's a little bit of a deficit for me because if we look at my Whoop data, which fitness trackers like this are a great way to get a ballpark of what you're doing, but they're not 100% accurate, right? So we're just using this as a rough estimate. I burn roughly on a day 2,020 calories. So 2020 minus 1612 brings me to a deficit of about 408 calories. A lot of people recommend a caloric deficit of around 300 calories a day. It's a little more manageable. You don't feel like quite as hungry. The reason I'm going with 400 right now is because, like I said, if skiing starts to suffer from physical fatigue, I really want to get the most bang for my buck early on in 75 Hard with the deficit of 400 calories. However, if it gets too intense, like I said, I could always add in a little bit more carbs and fats. You know, I could add in another 100 calories to my day and probably would still see really good results. I kind of space things out into 6 meals, if you will, Some of them are meals, some of them are more like snack-like, but I'm basically getting to consume calories like 6 times a day, which like as a snacky person, that's great for me. I've got foods in there that I like. My protein sources have been chicken, turkey, and protein powders and protein bars. So I feel really, really good about that. Eating mostly vegetables that are green. Sweet potatoes are my carb of choice, and rice cakes and oatmeal. I tend to knock out a lot of my fats right away in the morning with some peanut butter. So you guys are gonna see how I do all of this because I'm gonna take you through a full day. And I feel like this edition of 75 Hard, I'm coming into it with a much clearer vision, much more educated, much more realistic to maintain over a long period of time. I do want to say that, you know, counting calories, talking about calories, macros, tracking, if any of that is like a trigger for you, probably should not watch the rest of this video because it is heavily centered around tracking and really breaking down where my calories are coming from and where they're going. And I know some people, that's just like not a healthy topic of conversation for them, and I totally respect that. I'm kind of the other way. When I start intuitively eating, I have my least healthy relationship with food, so I'm better if I track and plan. So you'll notice that I'm gonna eat the same foods for the same meals every day on 75 Hard. I know it's possible within these macros to eat different foods and change up my meals, but there's a few reasons why I'm doing it this way. Number one, I've noticed already that my body responds really, really well to like the literal consistency of eating the same foods for the same meals at the same times of day. Second of all, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. I don't have to plan my day around certain new foods and figure out, okay, where is that one gonna fit and how does that change like my carb and protein ratio for that meal. It's like I already have the plan. I'm gonna do it for 75 days. So one of the big things that I've learned over the recent years is that you really have to weigh your food. Measuring it with like a measuring cup or eyeballing it is usually wildly inaccurate. The only true way to know how much you're eating of something is to weigh it. So you'll see that I weigh a lot of my food. That's not for everybody, but like I said, I'm trying to get very specific results in a very specific time frame, so I have to be very specific around my methodology. Personally, like I like tracking and measuring things in all areas of my life. That's the kind of person that I am. So this is a good fit for me, and so far I found a pretty good flow and routine with it that it doesn't take too much of my day. Yeah, let's get into it. We'll start with breakfast. Okay, so let's get started. I've got my bowl on my scale. I'm just gonna zero that out. So I'm gonna start out with 41 grams of dry oats. A little bit over. Perfect. Okay, so there's my 41 grams there. And then I personally like to add 2 packets of stevia. That's totally optional, of course. Just throw that in there. Then I'm going to add some water and pop this in the microwave for 1:30. To get my protein in for breakfast, I've really been liking the PE Science protein powder. I don't do a full scoop. I do 29 grams, which is just a little less than a full scoop. But yeah, we've liked pretty much every flavor we've tried from them, and it's super good. So I've got my water on my scale here. I'm just going to zero that out and add 29 grams. There we go. Okay, so 29 grams of protein. And I'm just going to hit that with a little hand whisk, which is so handy. Now, for my coffee, I have a few throughout the day, so I give myself about 1 whole cup of almond milk to use between my like 2 to 3 coffees, because the macros on it are super, super good. So this morning I'm just going to add like, I don't know, maybe 66 milliliters to my first coffee. That still gives me plenty to work with throughout the rest of the day. I also added some sugar-free syrup in there just to give it a little flavor and a little sweetness with no extra calories. Gonna hit that with the hand mixer again. Perfect. Okay, oatmeal is out of the microwave. We're gonna switch this to grams, and actually we gotta throw the spoon in there. I learned this trick, I like this trick better. zero it out with the spoon in there, and then I'm gonna add some peanut butter on top. This is where I'm gonna get my fat for my first meal. So it's just normal peanut butter, pretty normal peanut butter macros. Most peanut butters are gonna look like this, whether it's like generic like Publix or, you know, a name brand. And yeah, we're gonna go for 30 grams of peanut butter. So here's how you do it. You grab some peanut butter, put the whole thing in there. 23, so we need a little bit more. Closer. Oh, I hate when I'm like 1 gram off. It's like such a good day when I get it just right. No? All right. And yeah, 30 grams of peanut butter. So I'm gonna let that melt on top. And yeah, it's delicious. So this is breakfast. 463 calories, 34 grams of protein, 36 grams of carbs, and 21 grams of fat. So one of my bigger meals on 75 hard, but it's a great way to start the day. Okay, so we are home from the lake. We skied this morning. I just got off my first morning meeting. For those of you who don't know, I work from home. Our entire company is remote, so I do virtual meetings. And I've got some tasks I need to get to this morning, but first I'm going to make my morning snack. So, and I'm probably gonna do a coffee with it as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna have one of these Power Crunch protein bars. I have a couple different flavors in the house right now. The macros are pretty consistent, flavor to flavor. You can kind of look at that there. But I'm gonna have one of the red velvet ones because I like that. And then what I also have is I have a rice cake. Now, things to know, my favorite rice cakes are just the Quaker lightly salted ones. However, these ones, this brand is pretty good, but the macros on one of their rice cakes is literally double of any other normal rice cake that I've ever seen, if that makes sense. So like, let me show you. So like what I'm going for in my rice cake is about that, 35 calories, like 7 carbs, less than 1 gram of protein. Like that's what I'm looking for. When I bought these, I was like shocked because one rice cake has 16 carbs and almost double the calories. So I don't know what it is about these ones. They taste really good, but you just have to cut them in half, which just feels like eating less food. So just beware. This is why it's like super important to look at nutrition facts if you have very specific nutrition goals, and really understand what you're tracking. So I'm gonna get a protein bar and one of these rice cakes, which comes to 245 calories, 14 grams of protein, 17 grams of carbs, and 13 fats. And then I'm probably gonna make a coffee with a little bit of my almond milk and one of my sugar-free syrups, and that will be my like morning snack. And I'm gonna head back to my desk and do some tasks before lunch. Lunch, we've got some of my favorites. I'm gonna do some chicken, some sweet potatoes that I meal prepped earlier this week. I chopped these up and threw them in the air fryer with no oil. That's super important. But I did add a ton of seasoning, so there's flavor. And then I'm just gonna do some frozen green beans. Super easy kind of basics that I have on hand at all points in time. So I'm gonna do green beans first. Let's see. Rogue green bean. What does that put me at? Okay, so I'm looking for 55 grams. 51? 53? Okay, perfect. So I've got 55 grams of green beans. I'm gonna throw this in the microwave for like 30 seconds and my scale is zeroed back out. I'm gonna do some sweet potatoes and I'm also doing 55 grams of these. Wait, 40. Perfect, 55. And then for my chicken, I'm just gonna zero this out really quickly, flip it over to ounces, and what we're looking for is 3.5 ounces of chicken. That's a big piece of chicken. 3.8, let's take this guy off. Perfect, 3.5 ounces of chicken. So I'm gonna throw this in the microwave. Okay, so this is lunch. I added 17 grams of ketchup. So for lunch, my calories are 254, 33 grams of protein, 21 grams of carbs, and 4 grams of fats. So I'm just going to throw together my afternoon snack. I tend to have this like later in the afternoon because it's kind of like what I eat right before I go to the gym, just to give me that little extra energy. So I'm gonna walk you through it. Staying very on theme with a protein-centric kind of snack, but I am gonna start with one of these tortillas from Trader Joe's. So if you know, you know. They are super macro friendly. One tortilla is 45 calories. Only 9 carbs for a tortilla and 3 little grams of protein in there. So that's a great start. So I've got my tortilla on my scale. I'm gonna zero it out and switch it to ounces. And then we're gonna add our 3 ounces of deli turkey. Which is actually so close. Perfect. And then for the blueberries, I'm just going to use this little dish here. I'm going to zero it out again, switch us back to grams, and we're looking for 55 grams of blueberries. 56, we'll take it. So yeah, this is my little afternoon snack that I do, kind of like pre-gym fuel. And altogether, this comes to 152 calories, 17 grams of protein, 20 grams of carbs, and 3 grams of fat. Okay, so we are getting ready to head to the gym. I'm gonna bring my post-workout with me so I can have it as soon as I'm done. So I've got my protein shaker on my scale. I've zeroed it out, and I'm gonna use my PE Science protein again. And once again, we're gonna do 29 grams of protein like we did this morning. So that's a little less than a full scoop, but that's a little over. Just a little bit over. Okay, so I've got my 29 grams of protein in my shaker here, so I'm just going to pack that in my backpack and take it with me to the gym. For this, it is 104 calories, 21 grams of protein, 1 carb, and 1 gram of fat. We just finished up in the gym. I added some water to my protein, and it's time to throw it back. Okay, we are back from the gym, and it is time to get dinner going. This is just another one where I have a bunch of staples like meal prepped, and I'm gonna weigh it all and throw it in the microwave, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so for my vegetable, I'm doing some zucchini that I just roasted in the air fryer, and I seasoned it pretty well. So I've got my plate, and my scale is zeroed out. And for this, I'm going for 110 grams. Let's see, 54. Perfect, 100, oops, so 108, close enough. Got my scale zeroed out. I'm just going to flip it to ounces. And like we did for lunch, we're going for 3.5 ounces of chicken. 7. Okay, 3.5. So yeah, I'm gonna pop this in the microwave. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna add, okay, first of all, best barbecue sauce in the world. Thank you, Stevie. I have 35 grams of this barbecue sauce and 1 rice cake on the side, just like the ones we had earlier. And in case I forget later, I have 2 of these after dinner. I absolutely was gonna find a way to work a little chocolate into my macros when I originally planned all of this. for my sanity. So yeah, I grabbed 2 of these after dinner, and that's what I finished my day off with. So when I go over my calories and macros for my dinner meal, these are included.
Oh no.
This is my last meal of the day plus the 2 chocolates, and it's also my second biggest meal of the day after breakfast. So the totals on this one, this comes to 394 calories, 34 grams of protein, 38 grams of carbs, and 11 fats. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I've always said, if you have very specific body and nutrition goals, you absolutely should work with a professional, but I hope this helps you understand a little bit more of what I'm doing with my journey with 75 Hard, and I hope it inspires you to try your own.